Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
I'm from misty London. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to London. I'm just reading Shama Sundar. We're going to try to get him on the show this weekend. I'm reading Shama Sundar's new book, Book 3. You know, he's one of my heroes. He's one of my spiritual heroes because he's so... You know what he is? He's so himself. You know, sometimes I think you got to be in a spiritual. Some people think there's no rules in spiritual life. I do whatever I want in spiritual life. I'm spiritual now. I used to work for the man, but now I'm free. But there are rules. There are rules about controlling our senses, controlling our mind. The thoughts we think influence our actions. Our actions affect our future. So there are rules. But at the same time, then we feel like, well, now I've got to be like in this little whatever a Hare Krishna box is. Not true. You know, we're all individuals. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. There's no one right way, and we're not expected to be like that. God made us all as unique individual souls, and we do it our way for Krishna. We do it our way for Krishna. So Shama Sundar is one of these persons. He just was so out of the box, and he's following his passions and his dreams, but his main focus was, how can I serve my guru? And that took him around the world many times over. So what's this book called? Chasing Rhinos with the Swami, Book 3. Man, I'm reading right now, London Rathayatra. It's like mind-blowing. Such a good. If you haven't read any of those books yet, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami, this was a person who was just traveling with Prabhupada all over the world as Bhakti starts to take seed, like in the Western culture. And it's quite shocking and beautiful and exciting. And, you know, while he was in England, he was with George Harrison, and he's talking, there's a lot of cool info on George Harrison and his spiritual path. So anyway, we're going to try to get Shama Sundar this weekend.
Great. But if we do, that would be at a different time. Anyway, let's hold the details.
Well, hold on. We'll hold those secrets. It might be later in the day. Yes. And we want to make a last ditch effort. If anybody wants to we're about to close up our Columbia retreats. So if you're interested, get it out there, right? You get it out to bhaktiretreats108@gmail.com. bhaktiretreats108@gmail.com. We got a good group of Zoomers and others. And when the Zoomers and others meet, it's wonderful. Everybody's embracing each other. Oh, you're that person. You're Mara. Oh my God, Mara. Mara's going to be hugging everybody, greeting them from the plane. Oh, it's really nice. Last time we did that Wisdom of the Sage is retreat at Super Soul. That was so nice. We got to see everybody in person. Hey, we've even had some romantic love from Wisdom, right? People have been like staring at each other on Zoom all these years, and they meet each other in person and fall in love. Yeah, from that retreat.
Which one? I'm
not going to say, but people are here on Zoom right now in love from that Super Soul retreat. You know who you are. So if you're lonely and looking for love,
nothing you like more than an arranged marriage.
We'll marry you. We'll marry you on the spot. You know what's interesting I've noticed is that there's a lot of people on Zoom that look at each other and they write each other and they become friends. They're actually like pen pals or something on Zoom. They've developed secret lives that we don't know about. And
There's reading groups.
You know who you are.
About. There's all kind of stuff,
All kinds of things going behind the scenes. You and me are like the parents, and the kids are doing their thing. And Mara's like, "What's Mara?" Then if we're the parents,
I don't know.
He's like the auntie.
Okay, let's reel it in here. Okay, let's
bring it in, guys. Yeah. Everything good? Any other announcements, Mara?
Yeah, we have Bhakti recovery group meeting today. The men are meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and the women at 2 p.m.
When do they all come together?
Okay, so are you down for some nugs, Kaustubha?
Always.
This is a little wisdom nugget, a nectar nugget, and it's from. You want to explain the book, Kaustubha?
This is from a book called the Hito Pradesh, which is it's based. I think even large parts of it are almost the same as the book called
Aesop's.
Well, no. The original. There's the Hito Pradesh and Panchatantra.
Oh, the Panchatantra.
The Panchatantra is a much older book, but I think in the 15th century, the king of Bengal asked Narayana Pandit to kind of represent it, and he represented it as the Hito Pradesh. So it's largely the same thing as the Panchatantra, which is the origin of the Aesop's fables. So you get like animals personifying different qualities and characteristics, human characteristics and so on.
Okay, so it's not like when we read the Bhagavatam and Lord Haryagriva, the incarnation of the horse. It's not like these are
stories.
These are just stories. They're made to be taken as analogies or stories or what's the word?
There's stories with wisdom invested in them. And so the other day, I think it was last week, we were talking about how knowledge is the best gift because, and we gave different reasons, like when you give it away, you actually don't lose it, you even gain more.
You get more.
And we're talking about different things. So this talks about it here. This is kind of in the very opening of the Hito Pradesh. Because the Hito Pradesh is presenting knowledge, it speaks a bit about knowledge and why it's so special.
Well, here we go. The best wealth is knowledge. The best wealth is knowledge. It cannot be stolen. It is priceless and imperishable.
Okay, that's the verse.
Ready for the commentary?
There's a nice comment. This commentary is by Satyanarayan Prabhu. He did a translation and commentary.
Ooh, okay.
So this is from that.
Here, there are 3 reasons why vidya, or knowledge, is the best wealth. Knowledge cannot be stolen. A rich man is always anxious that his wealth may be plundered or embezzled, lost in speculative business or gambling, or that he or his relatives will be held for ransom. That's an issue.
Yeah, it is.
Kidnapping is a serious thing. It happens. It's happening more than ever now.
Is it? And but the point is actually other types of wealth, they actually breed anxiety.
It's interesting, isn't it? Wealth can actually breed anxiety. A rich man is always anxious that today's rich man can easily become tomorrow's pauper. So many stories in that regard. As told in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj lost his kingdom in a day. And Dhritarashtra lost all his sons in 18 days. Along with the kingdom they had acquired by intrigue against their cousins, the Pandavas. Oh, the Pandavas. Okay. Material wealth and happiness is compared with the instability of a drop of water on a lotus leaf, right? The lotus leaf is very waxy. So when you pour water on it, it actually beads and rolls off. So that's your stability in the material world.
It can roll off the edge at any moment.
At any moment. A short story is told to illustrate the precarious nature of riches. Ready? Once, 2 brothers left their village to seek their fortune. One brother entered a gurukul and studied. Gurukul is like a school.
So he was gaining knowledge.
Right. The other became an apprentice to a rich merchant. And after some years, after some years, they decided to visit their parents and offer whatever they had earned. On the way, dacoits attacked and seized all the wealth of the brother, who was the merchant's apprentice. The other brother, who had only books, was left untouched. Knowledge cannot be taken away. It is never burdensome to carry it, and it causes no anxiety. Rather, it alleviates one anxiety. Rather, knowledge is the most stable wealth. Furthermore, spiritual knowledge is never lost, even after the demise of the body. It is a permanent asset. You know, Kaustubha, just this information has saved me in my life already so much anxiety. Can you say? Right? Sure. Because even if we lose, I mean, we're trained that we don't own. We're trained that we can't control. And we're trained that Lakshmi, or money, is chanchal. It's flickering. It comes and goes. It's unsteady. And that when you expect something to be yours, you're setting yourself up great for the greatest failure, because we tend to we lose everything. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be careless with our money, but it means that we can't be the possessors. And so it's built into our mindset that nothing is ours in this world, and also that there is a divine plan. When you really buy into that outlook on life, it saves you from the greatest anxiety. Doesn't mean you won't get some anxiety, but it definitely will lessen the load. Just in the same sense as we believe in the soul is eternal, when we have someone we love leave their body or die, it doesn't mean we won't feel morose, sad, etc. But understanding the eternality of soul, it lessens the pinch of loss, at least to some degree. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And so what you're saying is that not only does it, it does not cause anxiety, and even beyond that, it relieves anxiety.
If it's like he says, he clarifies this, knowledge itself, because you could just use knowledge to gain wealth. I've studied computer science, or I've studied engineering, or I've studied whatever knowledge you're gaining, but it's wisdom knowledge. The Bhagavad Gita is knowledge that you apply and it becomes wisdom. That knowledge is very powerful. That alleviates anxiety.
That's the greatest knowledge. Yeah.
That's the greatest knowledge. Other knowledge is good. It's useful. I want to continue. I want to continue on with this. There's a little bit more. It's good. It's good stuff. It's all the Bhagavatam here. Knowledge cannot be taken away. It is never burdensome to carry. Okay. Education is priceless. Although worldly affluence is limited, Vidya is unlimited, for no one can estimate the extent or value of his knowledge. With knowledge, one can earn any amount of wealth. Consultants in different fields earn millions, while their knowledge remains intact and even increases. Knowledge is also priceless in the sense that it cannot be purchased like other commodities. It has to be earned by individual effort. Education is imperishable. Worldly riches diminish when distributed. Thus, most people are not enthusiastic to give charity. Vidya, however, or knowledge, increases when shared with others. This is what we mentioned the other day. Yeah. This is especially true with spiritual knowledge. A man enriched with transcendental knowledge can distribute the wealth unlimitedly, yet his wealth and realization increases. That practice, this can be practically tested when one tries to explain the philosophy of Vedic culture, which presents the path of pure devotional service to Lord Krishna as the true culmination of all knowledge. The more one speaks of Vedic teachings, the more one's store of transcendental knowledge increases. It's good stuff.
3 things were mentioned. It says the best wealth is knowledge. Why? 1, because it can't be stolen. It's not like other things that can get taken from you, right? 2, it's because it's priceless. Anyone just can't go out and buy it. It actually has to be earned, and when you have it, it has the potential to give unlimitedly, practically. And then 3, because it's imperishable, right? It's not disappearing like other types of wealth are disappearing. And I was even thinking in terms of, like, it can't be stolen. It was being said here that it's not burdensome to carry. Like, you ever travel with people, you travel in a group, and people travel different. Some people travel very light, and some people travel like they bring a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But I'm traveling with one right now. Rachel, she's brought like So luggage and huge amounts of luggage.
Okay, well, I'm not commenting on Rachel, but I'm just saying in general that people that bring more, they tend to be in more anxiety. You know,
Yep.
it's a fact. You know, but there was another verse about knowledge here that I highlighted for you. You want to check that one out?
Yeah, this is good. Among all types of knowledge, martial arts and scriptural knowledge are famous for conferring honor. Of these two, the former causes ridicule in old age. The former means the last one?
No,
Or
the
first
former
one?
means the first one.
Okay, the former.
You better figure this out.
It causes ridicule in old age, but the
Yes.
latter is ever respected. So
Why don't we
martial
read
arts.
that again. Hold it.
I
Yeah,
don't know if old. Okay, you say it.
Among all types of knowledge, martial arts, which is called Shastra Vidya, and scriptural knowledge, which is called Shastra Vidya, both of these are famous for conferring honor, right? If you're very powerful in your martial, military, physical activities, you can be honored for that. And also scriptural knowledge, deep knowledge of the wisdom of these texts, that they both confer honor. But of the two, the former causes ridicule in old age, but the latter is ever respected. In other words,
Those Muay Thai fighters, they retire at age 21.
really,
They start at 14 and they retire at 21.
Right. And if you see the picture, well, now this is something you need to consider yourself, Mara, because you're into boxing and all that, right? But you may be respected for it now. But but when you're like 80 years old or something like that, you put on those gloves and step into that ring.
If you're trying to box at 75.
Yeah, it'll be a cause of ridicule. But everything that you gain here on Wisdom of the Sages, you will be honored for that at any age, right? No matter, it only increases in one's old age, the honor one's shown for their knowledge, for their shastric knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Ever see that old Gracie? Hey, you're not going to believe this. You don't even know, but I don't even know if I should say this, but
probably not. I don't know what you're going to say, but probably not.
Okay. I fought Dan Inosanto. Do you know who that is?
I don't know.
He was Bruce Lee's partner.
Okay. How old was he at the time? And he was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what's got to do this first. Dan Inosanto is like a master of. He's like the creator of JKD, which was Bruce Lee and his martial arts, a combination of all different things.
Judo,
but they didn't do that much grappling. Okay. And so when I was in Los Angeles,
you tortured this. You pinned this.
Well, no, I was getting private.
What did you do to this
Brazilian jiu-jitsu lessons?
Okay.
And another teacher was giving Dan Inosanto, Jean-Jacques Machado was giving Dan Inosanto private lessons.
Okay.
And I had to.
How old was he at the time?
How old was he? He was old. Yeah. He was an old man. Like he was an old man. And they gave 70s? Him They gave him sort of an honorary black belt. I mean, he's great. He's like a world famous fighter. But I got to fight him. And because he really didn't know grappling great, I got to just toss him around the room. It was I got to fight Dan Inosanto. Yes, I thought I'd share that with you. No one's going to appreciate that unless you do martial arts. Then you'll know what I'm talking about. All righty. Anyway, that's great. We should just do a Hito Pradesh Patreon night.
Yeah, go for it.
Would that be good? You're like, yeah, go for it, Raghu.
Do it.
That would be all right. Yes, I'm going to get that. We can read it together.
Okay.
All righty. What do you say we dive into the sweet honey nectar pod of the Srimad Bhagavatam?
Okay.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tatojiyam madirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Yananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born blind, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Hit it, Mara.
Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 11.
Oh, chapter 29. The wrong chapter in here.
Text 11 and 12 come together.
They're together. Okay.
So we've heard over the past few days, we're hearing about how bhakti can be adulterated, right? It can be mixed. The mood
Depending
of
on your
devotion
gunas,
or worship, depending on the gunas, depending on the. Yeah, I was thinking about that. You know, when we say the gunas, but let's just mention something about this. Someone might say, like, it's easy enough to understand if someone says, like, you know, I become affected by my environment, right? And I want to get to that place in life where I'm no longer affected by it, or I'm no longer changed by the environment. You know, I go to one place and I feel happy, and I go to another place and I don't feel happy. Or, you know, I'm in the association of these people and I become like this, and I'm in association of those people and I become like something else, you know. And in a sense, I become controlled by it. And so what the yoga texts are saying is that we can rise above the influence of the external world and no longer be, you could say, victimized by it or even enslaved by it. And so when we talk about the three gunas, you could just say the influence of the externals. But what they do is they break it down into three categories, that there's three different energies that each has a different influence on you, right? One influence is kind of destructive. One influence is, you know, has to do with hankering for more. And another one has to do with contentment, you know, and peace. And the yogi is actually trying to move towards that contentment and peace in order to even transcend that. And that's what we call the unadulterated state of consciousness, or here we're talking about bhakti. So we heard about how I may be practicing devotion to God, cultivating devotion to God, but it may be mixed with different motives that are according to those gunas, right? So the mode of ignorance, it means that I'm approaching spirituality or bhakti, but I still have anger, I still have issues, and that's getting all mixed in, you know, to my practice. And we went into that a bit yesterday.
Question, Kaustubha.
Yeah.
Do I have to get rid of that stuff first, or does the process itself work it out?
Well, it is the process of working it out.
Because what if I'm entering into this, right? Like we were saying yesterday, I'm entering into this thing. I was a criminal. I've got rage issues. What do I do with that? And now you've given me beads. You've told me to chant. What do I do now? It's going to work itself out. Is the knot's going to get untied, or I have to like?
They will. I mean, they will if you practice it steadily and sincerely. But just the knowledge, the understanding that, oh, you know what? When, you know, if someone can sit down and explain to me, you know, we've explained to you what the gunas are and what their influences are. And if one is open enough and can respect someone enough that they can hear the advice that, can't you see that the way you're practicing, the anger that you're expressing, you know,
right?
Just see how it's manifesting in destructive ways, destructive to yourself and to others. You have an influence of the tamaguna blending into your devotional practice. So even though you're wearing the clothes of someone that's so-called spiritual, and you're, you know, in a temple, and you're following certain regulations, that influence is there and it's strong. We need to somehow remove that influence from this. And that may mean you have to consider what you're eating, the music that you're listening to, the people that you're associating with. If you're seeing tamaguna there, then we can understand that the more that you associate with that energy, the more difficult it's going to be for you to let it go. Right? So it's a science, you know. But so again, when we talk about when it says the gunas or the modes of material nature, in a more simplified way, we can just say we're talking about the external influences. And then, but because this yogic knowledge is so thorough, it's going to break that down into how that all plays out. So we heard about how the mode of the tamaguna may play out, where in one's devotional practice, wherein it's bringing in anger and hostility and even violence into one's devotional practice. Then we heard about how the Rajaguna, the mode of passion, plays out. And that means I'm doing these devotional things, but I want something for it. I want money. I want fame. I want, there's an ulterior motive. It's not pure bhakti. It's not pure love. And then the mode of goodness, that was like, I just want peace. I just want to be free from the pain of this world. And then we shared that analogy of different kinds of children, right? Some want liberation, right? They want that they're not.
Yes.
There's some kids, they're not listening to the parents at all. Other
Right.
kids, and that's like a vikarmi, someone who's just not even practicing yoga at all. And then there's the karmi. That's like the child that's cooperative around the house because they want something for it. They want an allowance or whatever it is. And then there's like the gyani. They have more knowledge. They're not interested in the things of this world, but they want peace from this world. Now, all those three, none of them are still.
What was their analogy again? The child Gani analogy.
In
How
other
does
words,
he act? How does he act in the household?
Well, the point with them was that they may act cooperatively, but really they're not causing trouble in the home, but they really want no engagement with the parents. They just want to be left alone. Right?
Okay. I've been trying to work this Gani household analogy for a while, but that's the best one.
Yeah. They're not causing trouble,
but
they're not engaging.
But there's no love. There's no
love there. Yeah. So the point was that the parents, they had love for all along. The parents, their hearts are full of love for their children. But even, like for instance, you take that first child who's not even cooperating around the household. So they're getting punished by the parents because they're not cooperative, right? That punishment, that's analogous to the law of karma, right? When we totally ignore nature, when we totally ignore God, and we just act for ourselves without thinking of others, then we get these negative karmic reactions that are painful. And people commonly will blame God or blame nature, blame their circumstances, and not blame themselves. And so like that child that's misbehaving and that is receiving punishment, they may actually feel, my parents hate me. My parents are unfair. They're so cruel to me. Why are you doing this to me? And then they say, I hate you to the parents and everything, right? The parents actually love the child. And even the punishments that the parents, inflict on the child, they're born of the parents' love, right? It's a genuine attempt to try to get them to rectify themselves. For what purpose? So that they can fully receive the love of the parents, right? So it's only that last child, that unadulterated one, that one that's not only cooperative around the house, but cooperative around the house with no motive except, I love my parents so much. I just want to make them happy. Now the flow of love, and this is what it's all about, right? The love from the parents to the kid can finally feel it 100%, right? And as well as they're now capable of expressing love to the parents. There's nothing interfering. There's no desire that child has that's interfering, that's blocking that channel of genuine love going back and forth. So that's what bhakti is. And now we're going to hear back to that unadulterated state.
Going back to that, the person who's getting into bhakti, but they are covered by tamasic tendencies. Holly Ball wrote on the message board, she said, my anger feelings are unrecognizable from last year. So there's definitely what's going on is we are coming in with all different layers of, just like you get an old table at the thrift shop and you want to strip it. Have you ever stripped a table?
A little bit. Like, you mean like the wax on top of it, or like the finish and
layers of paint, stripping furniture. It's a whole thing. I've never done it, but the idea is that there's layers of paint sometimes on these old antique tables, and we're going one after another until you get to that nice original cherry or oak wood underneath it all. So there are layers and layers, not just in this lifetime, but yes, in this lifetimes, I've had different material personas, personalities, bad habits that have morphed into other peculiar bad habits, personas, personalities, etc. And then lifetimes before that, that's been going on for millennium. But entering bhakti definitely starts to make some powerful stripping action immediately. And you start to notice, like Holly Ball is saying, it's unrecognizable. I'm a different person. I think it's safe to say. But as Nancy R. says, she doesn't know what I'm about to say, but as Nancy R., I say this because
Did she
it's a
say it
12
at all?
It's a 12. No, she does say this. It's a 12-step thing. Nancy R., they say, it works if you work it, and you're worth it.
Oh.
It works if you work it, and you're worth it. Isn't that a great saying? It doesn't work. You can't just go to the temple and have it work. You got to work it. There's a process, but you got to walk on the. Here's the map. Now you got to walk that trail. You can't just show up and say, "Okay, work me." You work it. You're 100%. You're responsible for working it, and then it works.
And it's
and worth it.
Okay.
And you're worth it.
Okay.
Is that a good saying?
It's great.
And Nancy R. says, and it sucks if you don't. And maybe
And
that's part of
it.
and you suck if it does.
Okay. All right. Shall we read text 11 and 12, which is now going to discuss unadulterated bhakti, devotion, without being influenced by the desire for something separate from oneself, even the peace from externals, but it's all about it. The entire motive behind it is love.
Text 11:12. The manifestation of unadulterated bhakti or devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart.
That's a big statement right there. No,
Yes.
but go ahead, finish the verse and we'll get to it.
Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord.
Okay. So in other words, you were talking about stripping wood.
Yeah.
And there are different layers. There's layers of paint. And you're going through, I suppose if you did it with sandpaper, you would see each, like if it was in different colors, you'd see each layer as you're going through until at a certain point you would hit the real wood. And then you'd have to keep going and keep going and keep going until there was nothing left but that wood, right?
Yeah.
And as you kind of started to clear out more and more and more, where the paint was left would be kind of conspicuous because it would kind of be standing out, all alone, right? And then you'd have to go and work. And some parts might be more stubborn than others, But finally,
good analogy. More stubborn than others. That's great.
Yes.
I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, because some paint is, chemically it's different and it's stronger or whatever.
And there's some habits that I'm holding on to that are a little bit more stubborn. I thought they'd be gone by now. You ever do that? Ever get into bhakti and be like, okay, I'm going to be good quick. Like 6 months, I should be over all these bad habits. I've been working on my bad habits. I've been practicing them for lifetimes.
Yeah. And, it's even the habits are one thing, but it's really what this is really talking about is, the habits are kind of like the outer layers of pain, but really it's the desires, the inner motives, and they get subtler as you go. Like, in other words, maybe I don't do this anymore, right? Like maybe I don't go out getting wasted every night anymore. But there's a deeper reason why I was doing that. Something that I wanted or something that I was trying to escape had to do, and that's deeper, lying underneath it all, the desire for prestige, to be adored, whatever it is. They're more subtle, and they're deeper layers, deeper down there. There's, of course, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the biography of Sri Chaitanya, just one of the most incredible works of spiritual writing ever created, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And within that, there's the story of how Sri Chaitanya and his associates cleaned the Gundicha temple, right?
Yes.
And it's a fascinating commentary on that by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who begins to describing how they clean the temple, and then Sri Chaitanya sees it and says it's not clean enough yet. The idea was it's cleaning that temple is it's part of a yearly festival where they bring the deity of Krishna from the Jagannath temple, this huge, massive, historic temple in Puri, and they have this huge parade, the Ratha Yatra, where they bring that deity to reside in this smaller temple, the Gundicha temple. And there's a symbolism that before God comes and settles in your heart, in one sense he's always there, right? But for you to feel him there and cherish him there and worship him there in your heart, first you have to purify that heart, you have to clean it. And that's what we're talking about here, right? Cleaning of all these other types of desire. And so they were cleaning that temple, And Sri Chaitanya said it's not clean, even though it seemed like it was all done. He said it's not clean enough yet. And then he went and he started to collect more and more. He could find the dust and the, what do they call it? You know, there's different kinds of sand in there, and different kinds of straw and different grime. Yeah. And they have it's analogous for all the different kind of like inner types of issues that we have, you know, this deeper level that we really have to, that if you're serious about your spirituality, serious about your bhakti, this is where you're really going, you know, to get down to that. And so you know, someone gives up a few bad habits and they begin to think, I'm deeply spiritual, look at me. Well, no, man, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot more layers. Yeah, that's just really the outer stuff, and so it's a lifetime project to really purify all of that. But what is it like when you get under that? You know, like when you clear out all those layers, what does the wood look like? Well, this verse is talking about that. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service. What's lying, it's inside us all. It just has to be uncovered, right? Is exhibited when one's mind. How do we know that someone is myself or another? Is actually made deep spiritual progress, what to speak of unadulterated, you know, bhakti. It says it's when their mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. You can see there, it's like, in other words, my mind actually finally is able to connect with my heart. There's a harmony between my mind and my heart, right? Because my mind, God's there in my heart in one sense, but my mind is attracted to so many other things. But when my mind is attracted to God, who's been sitting here in my heart all along, I want to hear about his name. I want to hear about his qualities, about his pastimes, etc. That means I'm becoming healthy again. I'm getting down to the real me that's underneath, you know, getting rid of all those layers of paint. And now we're down to the real thing.
I want to take a break here just to say you are a beautiful person.
Oh, Raghunath.
I'm serious. I'm lucky to have you as a friend. I like what comes out of your mouth on the regular basis, and I don't know where I found you. I don't know where I found you, but I'm happy you're in my life. Just sharing that.
We were walking the streets of Lower East Side. We didn't even know each other.
We didn't even know.
Now we're all connected. Well, I love you too.
Yeah. Hey, you know, another great point on your point is it's great to know where we're going with all this. Like underneath those layers, like, you know, because a lot of times, unless we have this map, this treasure map of, you know, where is the treasure and what is the treasure we're looking for, then all we do is we're on the surface and we know, well, there's grime, there's lust. Oh, lust is killing me. It's making me sad. Anger, resentment, that's killing me. It's making me frustrated. My turbo scenarios acting out revenge plots in my mind. Well, where do I go from those? Do I follow one? Do I let go of one? Do I let go of them all? And then where do I go with that? It's good to say you got to let go of that. That's the gross stuff. Then you're going to let go of more subtle stuff. Then underneath that, there's a treasure chest. Then you got to bust open that treasure chest. In that treasure chest is you, your real identity. It's eternal. It's spiritual. It's filled with joy. It has deep inherent knowledge. It's filled with bliss. And we understand it's born to give. This is like the qualities of what we actually are. That's the actual treasure. There is a reason to get rid of this grime and gross dust and muck. Because we got to get to that treasure, the muck. Yeah. Mm-hmm. that's the word you forgot before. It's muck.
Yeah, muck. So yeah, no, that's perfect, Raghunath. And you know, I think here's another way we can think about all this. In other words, that particularly the first sentence of this translation, it describes what our real consciousness is like, what healthy consciousness, unadulterated consciousness that hasn't been affected by the externals of this world, by the three gunas. What does it look like? And it has to do with attraction, right? It has to do with what you're attracted to. Now, the name Krishna literally means the all-attractive one, right? Like that is, Krishna is like a big magnet. All his qualities, you know, his beauty, his power, his knowledge, his renunciation, it's super attractive. His form is super attractive. His aroma is super attractive. His words are super attractive. Everything about him is super attractive, right? It's like not only super attractive, but if I see something else attractive, it's really just his quality that's reflected in that I'm attracted to. He's like the original origin of all attraction, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like we should naturally be like, bam, just like a magnet, pulls those iron filings in. It's just like snap. It snaps right to them. Or like two magnets. Sometimes like a magnet loses its own
Magnetism.
magnetism.
Magneticism.
Or we've become like, there's, I guess what magnets have two different poles, is it called? There's a polarity in them.
Mara?
And so,
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. And so like sometimes you take two magnets and they actually like, they're repulsing.
They're repelling each other, repulsing each other.
Yeah. So there's something wrong with, sometimes those magnets, they need to be, they get rusty and they need to be filed down, or they also need to be rubbed against another magnet to begin to snap together again, right?
Yeah.
And so bhakti is kind of like that. It's like we need to be, we're healthy when we're attracted to Krishna, like snap, but we've kind of lost our own, that connective magnetism power. And so this verse is saying when you get to that point where you're no longer affected by the externals, where you don't have layers of muck, where you don't have layers of paint, where you haven't lost the layers of rust, then you're just going to snap. That's how you're going to understand you're getting deeply spiritual. Where you're really getting somewhere in spiritual life, snap. You're going to snap right to Krishna. You're going to snap to hearing Bhagavatam. You're going to snap to chanting mantra. You're going to snap to kirtan. You're going to snap to going to the holy places and the form of God's in the temple and the association of deeply spiritual bhakti yogis. You're going to be like, I want that. Snap. You're going to snap right to it.
And our sadhana is just a practice because we, like crutches, you can't walk yet. So you hold these crutches and they're helping you along. I'm not attracted to chanting, but my gurus, my teachers, the great masters say, you just chant every day. All right, I'll chant every day. And then we study every day, or we read every day, or we serve every day, or we offer every day. We do this practice every day. And then slowly you don't need the crutches anymore to walk. You can, or the training wheels, right? Ever do that on a training wheel and you look back and the training wheels are off the ground? You're like, I'm riding. So it's the same thing. After a while, you don't have to chant. You want to chant. You want to rise early. You want to preserve your morning to be precious as an offering. You don't want to sleep in and eat whatever. You miss Krishna. You run. I mean, I remember like living in the ashram and like running to Mangal Arti or being an Indian, running to the early morning program, in the dark to see the deities. It's like you're eagerly wanting to do it.
Yeah.
It's no longer like I gotta do this because it's my sadhana. There's no more. It's not obligatory anymore. It's a joyful, spontaneous reaction.
That's the real spiritual life, right? It's called raga. It's attachment, actually. I've mentioned this before, but there's a book. I think it's called Encyclopedia of Yoga, and I'm forgetting the author's name now. But he writes a lot on yoga, and it's a kind of ambitious project, but it's a relatively thick book that just kind of covers like all this terminology about yoga, and he gives explanations for so much. I'm not meaning to criticize the author, but
let's take him down.
Well, it's just because he's covering like a huge, wide swath of yogic, information.
Yeah.
But like I know specifically about one area of that, because I've been studying it for over 30 years, So he speaks about what's called raga-bhakti. And so raga means attachment and bhakti means, devotion, devotional yoga. And so he said that he took that term raga-bhakti and he made it sound like it was like what's being said in the previous verses, devotion that's not quite yet pure. You're practicing devotion, but you still have raga, you still have some attachments to material things. But that's not actually what raga-bhakti means. Raga-bhakti means, and this is important to just really understand the general nature of bhakti. We're not saying that attachment is wrong. As a matter of fact, we believe that attachment is the nature of the self. By nature, we have attachments.
Attachment is good.
It's just a question of what you're attached to.
There you go.
So you're like a magnet when you do the whole, when you get rid of all the layers of material attachments. It's not that you don't have any attachments left, but you're more attached than ever. And if you this is evidence in the lives, you go to Bhagavatam, you go to the 10th canto, the gopis who are called the Yogeshwaris, the greatest yoginis of them all, right? they're totally attached to Krishna. They're thinking about him, they're talking about him, they're singing about him. They just can't stop. That's raga-bhakti. It means my bhakti isn't motivated by I need to follow these rules, even though I'm chanting 16 rounds of japa, for my meditation every day. I'm not necessarily doing it because I want to do it, because I'm attached to doing it. I'm doing it because I know it's good for me. But raga-bhakti means I'm doing it because I love it, because I'm attached to it. I don't want, if you tell me to stop, I'm like, I can't stop. This is what I want. This is what I'm into. That's raga-bhakti.
Got a good example for you. Ready?
All right. Yeah.
We are in beautiful Tuscany with about 30 plus people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a day off and we're going to Siena, right?
Siena.
And we're going to go sightseeing in this charming,
That was
ancient,
way more than 30. We had like about 80 people.
40,
or
50,
like
I don't know what it was. We had a huge
busloads.
gang of Wisdom of the Sages people in Siena last year. And it was like our day off and doing a lot of studying, a lot of stuff, waking up early. And now just a relaxing time, meandering through the streets of Siena. And what happens? What happens? We just sit down. A big group of us just sit down. Now some of us wander off and shop for various hats. True.
That did happen.
It did happen.
Because there was a devotee hat shop.
The devotee hat shop. But that being said, people spontaneously just wanted to sit there and sing in the piazza. And that's what happened. That was our whole trip. We sat down and we sang. And we did it the entire time. And then we stood up. We left in style, singing and glorifying the divine. It was beautiful. And it was spontaneous. And it was we just brought mridanga and cartels, but just figured, maybe a couple of us will take turns singing. But it was not planned. It was just to have them. But it just turned into that. And it was so beautiful because it was non-obligatory, just spontaneous from the heart, just because we wanted to do it.
So
nice.
And then when we were leaving, we got up, right? And that town, Siena, is like, it's really feels ancient, right? Like very old.
Feels ancient.
Yeah. And medieval. And it's got these winding brick roads and
Stone.
Yeah. And so we had that. Our whole party was singing and dancing and moving, through the streets, and we're just having the time of our lives. They're little kids. They're going for it. We're all in it together. and then I remember the police got in our way. Remember, and we were all like so psyched. We were like, it doesn't matter. And then it turned out like they weren't trying to stop us. They were trying to protect us from like some. What was it? Something happened.
Bulldozer or something was coming down the street the other way. I can't remember, but we thought they were coming after us to Chankazi our parade.
Yeah, that's right. We're all kind of disappointed that they weren't trying to stop us.
Yeah, but then it worked out good. We just rerouted the parade. Lori Peck said they were making a movie up there. Okay. That's what I mean. It was spontaneous and it was organic, and that's what we want our bhakti life to be like. That's what we're working toward. That's what our sadhana is. It's a practice. And you can probably, if you've been doing this for a year now, you probably already notice it. It's just not the same when you miss it. And you're eager for it and you're hungry for it. And you're sad when you don't have the association of devotees. Look at Mara. I'm not back home. She's losing her mind over there. Where's Raghunath? When's he coming back? It's okay. I'll come back soon, Mara. Tell Bobby I'll come back soon. Up in our upstate New York.
You want to read a little commentary? Let's hear a little Prabhupada.
Yeah.
It's all good.
What are we on? 11 and 12 still?
Yeah, 11 and 12.
Okay. All right. We're running out of time, but I can get something.
Just read
here.
some.
The basic principle of this unadulterated, pure devotional service is love of Godhead. Madguna Shruti Matrena means just after hearing about the transcendental qualities of the personality of God.
I mean, in other words, just after, like, that's all I want. I'm just after that.
Oh, I'm just after hearing about the transcendental qualities of the personality of Godhead. That's it. I'm not interested in hats or gelato. Nothing. Okay. These qualities are called nirguna. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Lord is uncontaminated by the gunas, the modes of material nature. Therefore, he is attractive to the pure devotee. There is no need to practice meditation to attain such attraction. The pure devotee is already in the transcendental stage, and the affinity between him and the personality of Godhead is natural and is compared to the Ganges water flowing towards the sea.
So I think what that means when he says that there's no need to practice meditation, it's not like the pure devotee isn't feeling a connection or attraction to God on, regularly throughout the day, but to feel it, they have to sit down and go into some very deep state of trance to experiencing it. It's saying, no, they're feeling it all the time, right? Even they're cooking, even they're, whatever they're doing, they're feeling it.
Sure.
Just like the river is always flowing towards the sea, their mind, their heart is always flowing to God under any circumstances.
Good analogy. The flow of the Ganges water cannot be stopped by any condition. Similarly, a pure devotee's attraction for the transcendental name, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Godhead cannot be stopped by any material condition. The word afichina, without interruptions, is very important in this connection. No material condition can stop the flow of devotional service of a pure devotee.
That's an important point too. It's like something we got to think about. There's no material condition that can prevent it. It is my nature, right? And so it may be that I don't have wealth. That can't prevent one from having pure love of God.
Right.
One may not.
It can prevent you from doing other things. If you don't have wealth, you can't do something else you like. Right?
Even
if you don't
certain
have
practices, even like in yoga practices, certain yoga practices require, like the ability to bear great austerity, which a lot of people don't have, or to do great sacrifices, recommended in the Vedas that might require wealth, But for bhakti, there's no limitation.
I've got a good idea. Before we do our takeaways, everybody listening on Zoom, put your Instagram handles on the chat board so we can follow each other. Do it right now, please. And if you want to join us live on Zoom, all you got to do is email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. If you're one of the others out there just listening abroad, join us live here on Zoom. It's fun. You get to meet all these people, and it's free of charge. Okay. Send Mara, and she will give you the secret codes to join. Okay, Mara, do we have any takeaways for today? Little nuggets of wisdom we can carry with us in our pocket and whip out when life's falling apart today. What do you got?
Knowledge is better than wealth. It dissolves anxiety and can't be stolen.
Yeah. Yes.
Spiritual knowledge lessens the pinch of loss.
It does indeed.
It works. Yeah, it works if you work it, and you're worth it. So work it.
Sure.
If we're serious, we need to clean and purify our heart.
Yeah.
Keep the morning sacred. Strip away the layers of material nature to get closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And clean away the grime and muck to excavate the treasure.
Clean away the grime and muck to excavate the treasure. I like that.
Clean away the grime and muck.
To excavate the treasure. Clean and to excavate the treasure. Thanks, everybody, joining us. A lot of people join late. I didn't get to say good morning to you. You break my heart when you join late because I don't get to say good morning to you. Who is it? Who's out here? Thomas Harry Ball. Damayanti G. Wendy B. Danny Kazakowski. Last call for Columbia, everybody. Last call for our Kirtan Academy and last call for our Bhakti Yin and Restorative Retreats all in Kali, Columbia at Shama Ashram. You can go to my website and check it out, Raghunath.yoga. It's got all the info there. Join us, get out of the cold, and immerse yourself with great people. It's such a game changer. Also, I want to thank all the Patreon people that have been supporting us. It really means a lot to us. This is a community-supported podcast. That's how it goes on. If you want to contribute, you can contribute anything. You can contribute $1, a Bitcoin, $108, whatever you like, whatever you like to give, whatever you think this is worth to you. It means a lot to us. You go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. A Krugerrand. We're accepting Krugerrands.
You're in England right now.
A kroner. A quid.